late today, just technical difficulties. But I'm really happy that you're here. And we want to go ahead and start before we do anything else. We just want to go ahead and again unify through the sacred sound of Om. So let's do 3 Ohms together first. Oh. 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 Good. So the word that we've been focusing on for this past month is the word practice. And we've been utilizing the word try for our saboteur, which could be a little confusing because the word try obviously has some really good components to it that we're going to talk about that too. But there's the negative side of trying, which has this feeling that accompanies it of, I'm trying, that kind of trying. That's the kind of trying that we want to pay attention to, in the sense of that, knowing that means that we're not practicing. And a practice is one of these things that's interesting. Life is a practice, isn't it? You show up for life whether you want to or not, because we're here. So it's a practice. But what we're doing is we're teaching ourselves to have a practice of spirituality, which is learning to rest our mind, to cool our mind, so it doesn't just overflow in the lava of anger and jealousy, betrayal, revenge, all of these kinds of things. We want to teach ourselves to have this control over our own inner power, empowerment. So practice is really the only way that is genuine. What I mean by that is, you can buy courses that will say you'll become enlightened in 6 weeks, or you can learn to do this or learn to do that, all kinds of spiritual gymnastics that you can learn to do in just a matter of a few weeks' time. But that really just leads to trying. Let me just try this and I'll just skip the practice part and get to where I need to be. We have to be very careful about quick fixes, things that tell us, or people that tell us that spirituality is really quite simple and all you have to do is this, that, and the other thing. Well, there is a simplicity to it, of course, but we have to learn to trust ourselves to show up for ourselves. So spiritual practice is really learning to show up for yourself every single day. When you find yourself really pressed in a situation where you can feel your emotions wanting to override all good common sense, you can just feel it. It just wants to come in and just override everything and explode onto the scene. It's in those times where, when we have a practice, we can actually be serving ourselves. And if you serve yourself spiritually, you serve everybody that's in your atmosphere. So if I can catch myself in a place where I feel very intensely, whatever it may be, we'll say I'm feeling really intensely angry right now. And if I can feel myself doing that, I have a practice, I can override that, because my practice now is part of me. And it keeps bringing me back to home, back to who I really am and deep inside. It's not an easy thing, practice, but it's much easier to have a practice than it is to explode and then have to recover from that. And then you have other people that have been around you that perhaps you exploded on, and they too have to recover. So you see, a practice actually it's common sense. It helps us to be able to live more intelligently. It gives us more self-control. I say this because, again, people think sometimes that peace means that we're just so neutral, that we're namby-pamby and we're not doing anything. It's just not true at all. In order to be a peaceful individual, you really have to cultivate your inner practice. You have to show up for yourself. You have to watch yourself. awareness is always the way. So awareness, like you can feel it, like you're teaching yourself, when you have a spiritual practice, you teach yourself to feel inside, oh, I'm starting to feel this bubbling up. I can feel this resentment bubbling up today. Yep, there it is. I felt it last night before I went to bed. I was dreaming about it. Now this morning, here it is. Yep, it's here. And when you can do that, then you can help yourself and go, okay, no, I don't want to be this way today. I don't want to shout resentment out into the world. I don't want to be what I always call a chocolate mess. You know, I don't want to have my energy splayed all over the place. But you can feel it. In fact, by the time you can feel it, it's already been there and it's been activated by the time you can feel it. There is a point in our practice where we can feel it before we feel it. It's an intuition. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. But right now, I want you to remember that by the time you feel it, it's already activated. And that means that you must pay attention to it if you want to utilize your practice to help yourself with. So if I'm feeling really resentful about something that somebody said to me or somebody did to me, perhaps I'm meeting them on today, and I'm feeling this resentment inside of me, and I'm thinking they did this and they did that, and they never apologized and they never brought me this or whatever it might be, right? And I can feel this resentment coming in. I can feel it in my eyes, because our eyes, with resentment, you can feel it in your eyes. I'm exaggerating so you could see my resentful eyes. But it's important. You can feel it coming through your eyes. You can feel that feeling, it like comes out like little daggers, because resentment is old. Resentment is one part hurt, one part anger, and one part hidden. Quite often we don't even know it's there until the volcano is actually exploding inside of us. But you can feel it in your eyes. You can certainly feel it in your mouth and your jaw, because it tightens up, because you don't know what you're going to say. And you're like concentrating on what you're going to say, which probably isn't very positive if you're suffering from resentment. The thoughts that are going through your mind in that moment are not going to be all loving and, nicety nice. Mm-mm. So it can really manifest itself in here, in your jaw, where it feels a little tight. So I'm telling you these things because you want to, like I said, I'm saying in the morning, if you know you're going to meet somebody and you're feeling like this, check your body, because every thought that you have affects your body. So if you want to really see where your state of mind is, take a little check on your body from head to toe. Where are you tight? Are you tight in your jaw? Are your eyes kind of seeing in that way? Are your shoulders really, really tense? Are you feeling your hands just kind of want to come together? What's going on? You can feel it in your chest. You can feel it in your gut. You can feel it in your hips. You can feel it anywhere and everywhere. And so the thing is that as you start to feel it in your body, then you know that you have really, you are currently suffering from resentment. I'm using that word. It could be anger. It could be any other thing that may be there. Resentment is just one of those things that we quite often have denial of, where we say, I don't have any resentment. I'm pretty sure I don't have any resentment whatsoever. Of course we do. But you see, we're so busy using that word in a judgmental way that we want to say immediately, no, I don't have that, because we look at it like it's a shameful thing. It's a thing that we don't want to have because it pollutes us. It makes us unhealthy in our minds and our hearts and our bodies. But if we can learn to see it like that, we're going to be more apt to want to reduce resentment. We won't see it as, I don't have it. No, it'll be more like, well, of course I have it. Yeah, of course. So let me do something about it to help myself. If you have a fever, you're going to help yourself. If you have resentment, help yourself. It's an invader, like the virus that gave you the fever. So resentment is something that now you have it in your mind and you have it in your body. So the practice comes to your rescue, because now you've been practicing What have you been practicing? I don't know. Everybody's a little bit different. Have you been practicing peace? Only you have the answers for that. And how do you practice peace? Do you sometimes come in and ask yourself, yeah, how do I practice peace? Am I really practicing peace or not? Do I catch myself when I'm kind of out of order, or do I just let it go? Because if we're around negative voices, negative situations, we can catch it because it's contagious. All emotions are contagious. They are. They're big energy. Anger and peace. Peace is not an emotion, but it's an experience. It's an experience of self-control of our emotions. And in order to have peace, you have to be aware of your emotions and how they can be out of control quickly. So the practice of peace teaches us to be introspective about knowing that we have these emotions that could be out of control at any moment. So we're practicing self-control. As we practice self-control, we become more peaceful because we're stronger. A practice of peace makes you stronger, which is why we're going to be kinder. A kind person is a strong person, one who can bear out the negativity in the circle in that moment. So it's really, really important that we associate the practice of peace with inner strength, because it is. If we just let the emotion of resentment just explode, I'm telling you, you will have pieces to pick up, you know, in yourself, in the other person, in the relationship, in the atmosphere. It makes a really big mess because it is like an eruption. And then all it does is it makes you feel like, see, these people victimized me and I had every right to explode all over them. You don't really want to live like that. I know you don't. I don't. You don't. We don't. Of course we don't. But there it is. And it does happen. So it's important that we understand that a practice, it's just like taking your vitamins or whatever else that you do, your walking, your yoga, your green drink in the morning. All of these things you use to help to steady your body, which is lovely, of course. But what are you doing for your mind and for your spiritual heart? You can have a very, very strong body, like really, really strong, a beautiful, strong body. But it doesn't guarantee that you have the ability to control your emotions. So why not have a beautiful, strong body as well as a beautiful, strong mind? Practice peace. Be aware of your feelings inside. It'll keep you from really over exploding. After a while, apparently, you know, we become so peaceful that we are completely strong. We can bear anything out without any fear. It makes us fearless eventually. So something to look forward to. That's the way I look at it. So trying, how does trying become a saboteur? Because now the word try, like we can look at it as the word attempt. Okay, I'm trying to put this into the proper space here. I'm trying to put Ganesha in the proper space. Okay, I'm trying. Oh, I tried it and it worked, right? Okay. But it's when we use this word try in a way where the element of shame makes us defensive. Why are you saying this to me? I'm trying. I'm trying. You see that? You see how my body tensed up? My fists went like this, my jaw. You could just see my face change. So I'm saying these things so that you look to your own body as you're going through your day and you're experiencing certain emotions. Look to your own body. You know, feel it in there. I'm trying. That's a feeling of shame deep inside, and you're feeling like you're being called out in a shameful way. That's what we have to get rid of. I'm trying in that way. What we really need is commitment. Practice and commitment go hand in hand. You really can't have one without the other. We practice committing and we commit to a practice. You see, they're like twins. They must always go together, or two wings of the bird. They bring balance into our life. So we're practicing feeling this feeling of shame, or being shamed, or feeling like somebody's shaming us. Maybe they really aren't shaming us, but we have lived in that space for so long that we feel like they're shaming us. And so we want to let them know that I am trying. What are you saying to me? You know? So it's important that we feel that before it becomes physical. Because like I said, as soon as you feel it physical, you might not have the same chance to overcome it because it's already moving, it's already erupting. So you see, if we have a practice when we're not erupting, when we're not feeling bad, then when we do feel bad, we have more of an option than to just erupt. We have the option of bearing it out and staying more peaceful so that we can be more intelligent with what we say. If you need more motivation, whatever you say in anger goes out and it touches the other person. It returns back to you in future experiences. I mean, it's always important to know how energy works. Nobody's being punished. Nobody's being rewarded, but this is the nature of energy. It moves through us. It affects the point of our concentration, and it returns back to us in the form of experiences. If I explode on you, someone is going to explode on me somewhere. It's just the way energy works. So what we're doing by a practice is not only helping ourselves in that moment, but we're helping our future. We're helping ourselves to live in a place to where that feeling of peace can become so profound that the people around us can actually feel it. And they may not want to argue in the same way that they used to with us either. We affect one another with our own inner vibration. So if I walk into a room and I'm truly actually feeling peaceful, that will actually move out into the room. Now, if I am a faker, if I have some dubious reason to appear to be peaceful, but I'm really not, I have to practice to be able to do that. But it doesn't work. So people can walk into the room and they can appear to be peaceful, but they're not. They're just watching their bodies not move. They're practicing in their body to be more peaceful. Usually this is people who are going to con you for whatever reason. So I say this to you again so that you become quiet enough to be intuitive to feel that. Because remember, this whole year, we're really working on intuition. So what we're talking about today is to feel inside of yourself. First of all, you have to be really familiar with what anger feels like as it's building. Because usually we don't pay attention to its various steps. We don't pay attention to how it's feeling inside of us and how it's making us want to speed up, hurry up, get through things, and things start going all awry around us because, you know, it amps everything up. Anger speeds everything up and it makes us out of control. So now we're just talking out of turn. We're shouting over the other person. It makes everything happen really, really fast. So when we're practicing every day being peaceful, you start to intuit, oh, yeah, gosh, I'm going to see so-and-so today. Okay, I felt it. I felt my resistance to seeing that person. I felt it. I felt that resistance. Okay, I need to calm down. I need to practice right now before we meet because I want to be at my best, my strongest. Right? That's using your intuition. You're sensing it in yourself. And you might even be sensing that the other person is anticipating you. Because if you know you're going to come together with somebody and there's opposition between you, you will feel each other. So the more that you can become quiet, you have a practice of being quiet, you're learning to use your intuition. You can feel that person anticipating you as much as you're anticipating seeing them. So then it feeds on each other. So if you're not aware and you don't intuit that, and that person's energy is coming towards you and they're thinking about all the things they want to say to you and da 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 da, and they're amping themselves up, you're going to get amped up from it. I want you to really ponder on what I'm saying, because this has this depth to it that you really have to ponder it. We feel each other's thoughts on a regular basis every single day of our lives. And when you are in disagreement with someone and they're in that same disagreement with you, you are constantly feeling one another's thoughts, and you feel and fuel one another in a negative way. But if you catch yourself, then you can start to practice inner strength, which protects you as well as protecting the other person. And you might be like, I don't want to protect the other person. Well, I hope you do, because that benefits you also. So what you want to do is teach yourself to feel like, oh, I can feel them thinking about me. Yep. But don't imagine it. There's a fine line between intuition and imagination. Intuition does not project. It's not going to go out. It receives. Intuition is all about receiving. So if you hadn't thought about them right away, the person you're going to see today, you hadn't thought about them right away, but you wake up and you feel this feeling, it could be that they're already thinking about you, and they're anticipating seeing you. They feel nervous about it. They're anxious about it. So you can catch that. And if you're unaware, you're going to think those are your own thoughts about them. It's very misleading. So we have to learn to use our intuition to become better people. So again, if you know you're going to have an uncomfortable conversation with someone, because there are times in our lives where you know what's going to happen. Sometimes you're surprised it didn't happen as big as it did, or sometimes you're surprised that it happened way bigger than you thought it was going to. But if you have a sense that there's going to be some uncomfortability, why would you not acknowledge that? If you can sense something's not right here, instead of like trying to tune in to the other person to see what they're thinking about, it's better that you listen to yourself and go, okay, something's not right here. I need to be prepared for that. So I need to make sure that I do my practice this morning, my breathing, my mantras, whatever it is that will center you. It's better that you do that than you're out there looking, because now you're projecting your own thoughts out there, what you think is going to be there, which may or may not be truth at all. And besides, you're not helping yourself. You're looking for more trouble, thinking that if I do that, I'll be prepared. No, you will be prepared by adhering to your practice. Regardless of how big or how little the conversation is going to end up in terms of your emotions, if you practice peace in the morning, you will be better for it. Your situation will be better for it. I know it's difficult. I can tell you, I do know this is difficult, what I'm saying. That's why this is a practice. That's why I want us to get away from the habit of I'm trying. Because the word try can make it an exercise in futility. I tried it. It doesn't work. And my classic, of course, is you know this already. I've told you so many times, but it always bears repeating. It's when people say, you know, I can't meditate because my mind goes too fast. Well, join the human race. Every mind goes entirely too fast. We all have Ferraris for our minds, and we have no driving lessons. So if we practice inner peace, we begin to understand how to drive our minds. We know how to access very deep inner peace, which is intelligence. When you practice peace, your mind has the capacity to remember the good, to remember that you have the strength to overcome. to anticipate how you want to feel after you have this meeting with this person. If you can practice, let's say you're going to meet this person at 10 o'clock and you're feeling all wound up in the morning and all the things that we've been talking about. If in your practice in the morning, if you can, when I say visualize in this context, I don't mean looking. To see isn't always visualizing pictures. Sometimes to see means to feel. To feel. Sometimes to see means to feel. So in the morning, if you start to feel all this anxiousness about the conversation, if you can start going inside and ask yourself, how do I want to feel at the end of the day about this? How do I want to feel at the end of the day about this situation? So you're focusing on that feeling. That feeling. Maybe you had resolution, maybe you didn't, but you feel good about how you handled yourself. You feel good that you didn't betray you, that you weren't coerced into just crazy anger. You helped yourself. Maybe you won your conversation, maybe you did not. But at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to feel good about you. So we visualize that, because a lot of times, if you know that you could have a contentious situation during the day, you start visualizing all the bad things that you want to say to that person, how you want to make them feel. And at the end of the day, you've really actually like visualized yourself shaking, and you don't even know that. Being all upset and just driving away in a huff. But it doesn't have to be so. Visualizing without sight, feeling it. It gives you a place to come home to. It reminds you how your inner life really feels. That peacefulness that's there. Because sometimes we think that we have to win an argument in order to be peaceful. But how do you know that you won the argument? And why is it so important to win the argument? If you were a prize fighter, well, that would mean a lot to you. But if you're a human being having a disagreement with a family member or a friend or a coworker, why would you put everything on the line to win? That means the other person has to lose. Do we really want to wish other people to lose? We say, yeah, in politics, they say, of course, if they don't lose, then we don't win. You know how politics is, what do I want to call it? I don't know, a fire pit? It's politics. Politics is politics. We all know what I'm talking about here. And it's become not only unsavory, but it's become dangerous. There's this whole thing about retaliating and showing off and egos and selfishness and being corrupt, and these are about the human beings themselves. Politics has so much power available to people that it can easily corrupt us if we have no practice of peace. People who have power and use it in a corrupt way, in other words, for selfish ends, and they're not saying that this is going to be selfish, but inside it's selfish, they have no practice of peace whatsoever. So they don't protect themselves from greed. They don't protect themselves from jealousy. They don't protect themselves from anger. They don't protect themselves at all. So that means that they catch those viruses and they're infected with it. And now they're going to spread it around. So what I'm saying to you is, by practicing peace is the only way that this word corruption stops. Each person has to work on it themselves as individuals. It's very difficult. I'm going to tell you again, it's very difficult for people who are elected to office to be pure. They're whoever they were before they were elected to office. That's who they are in the office. And chances are they don't have the ability to withstand the pressure of world politics. And they can be corrupted by it easily. So I say that so that you can see it out there and know that it's nothing unique here. It doesn't matter who's elected. We all have to learn to fight off inner corruption. We all have to let go of what we think is right and stay with what we think is good. Always go for goodness rather than righteousness, because righteousness can deteriorate into self-righteousness this fast. Goodness is inner strength. It is. When a person really has goodness in their heart, they have endurance, they have inner strength, and we remember their name. People who are corrupt go too fast and they burn up, and we don't remember them over time because there's another one to take their place, and another one, and another one. It's the ones who can be so peaceful inside that they have a heart of service, and we remember them. A heart of service. That takes practice. You have to learn to be true to spiritual principles. You have to help yourself to not corrupt yourself by taking shortcuts and cheating. If you cheat yourself, you would cheat others. If you blame and shame yourself, you will blame and shame others. How you treat your own humanity will show you how eventually you'll treat others. And you say, but they're treating me this way. That's right, Sen. You don't like that, so why be that? You see another person treating you poorly, then you have to come to this understanding that I don't want to be that. I see that. I feel that this is the way they want to treat me. I don't want to be that. Do you see how much strength that takes? We don't see this in the world of politics where they're like, wow, I see this person really acting like that and I don't want to. I'm determined to hold steady. No matter how they come at me, I'm going to hold steady. I'm going to hold steady. I very rarely see this because to be really good takes a tremendous amount of inner strength. And when people get this much power, they don't think it matters. They are wrong. And then we are not served. They're not serving us. So I recommend that we don't think about them so much, that we think about ourselves in the sense of, how do I want to be? How can I serve myself? How can I serve my family? How can I serve my neighborhood? How can I serve my community? And if you say, well, I don't have time to go out and do service work, I don't have time to do all that, you have time to calm yourself, to send peace out into the world. So I wore my shirt today, peace, peace, peace. We have the ability to practice every single day, peace, peace, peace. Kindly remove the obstacles for all politicians to peace, peace, peace. You see, this is so much more practical. It's a practice, to send that to them than to be like, oh yeah, so and so, yeah, they're corrupt, they're bad, they're down to the root, it's horrible, horrible, horrible. So now what am I doing? I'm speaking all of these bad things. And they're running through me. That vibration of observing that in the other person is running through me. And now I'm participating. So we all have to be careful and watch that, or it will make you as angry as the person that you're talking about. So you see how much strength it takes to really call on divine forces. It's the best way I can say to say it. Divine forces to intervene. And you just say, kindly remove the obstacles to all politicians to peace, peace, peace. You don't have to say their names. You don't have to focus on them as individuals. But they need help. They need spiritual help. They need spiritual vibrations to go out into the world so that they can catch it like you can catch a cold. We want them to catch spirituality. So instead of just putting out negative thoughts about how horrible everybody is and how horrible things are, and actually walk away from that thinking that we've done something, we need to forget that. All we've done is contributed to the overall badness that's there. So we're helping ourselves to recognize, I don't want to be a part of that horrible badness. And we don't want to just sit back and go, well, I'm trying, I vote. Okay, let's try sin and peace every day too. You see, try could be virtuous, but it just means an attempt. And peace doesn't come from just making an attempt. It's okay, it's good. I don't want to say it's bad, but it isn't enough. Practice is different than trying. Practice is consistency. So when you're practicing, I don't know, you're practicing baking bread and you make some bread and it doesn't rise. So you're like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. I don't want to try that anymore. I'm not very good at it. How many times did you try? Oh, once. You see what I mean? Trying can make us feel defeated. But practice means, okay, let me see. What did I do with that? How did I proof it? How did that work? What did I use? What brand of wheat did I use? How did this work? And you just kind of make some notes about how you made that attempt at bread making. And you do it again because you're practicing. And you keep doing it again. And then when you get it and you get that loaf that's like ideal, it's wonderful, it's golden brown, it's tasty, it's nutritious, your family loves it. You still have to practice because conditions change. Sometimes when you work with dough, if it's too wet outside, it affects your dough. If it's too dry, it affects your dough. If you're a tarot reader, you understand that your cards are affected by too much moisture in the air when it gets too dry in the air. You learn these things through practice about conditions that affect your outcomes. You're learning about karma. Same thing whether I'm making bread or I'm making peace with myself. I got to make sure I'm not just trying to find a quick fix. I'll just do this exercise here and now I'll be able to sleep right. When we don't sleep well, we're like, I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm trying. Or whatever it may be. We have to help ourselves to be committed to a practice. Little by little, we get better and better and better and better. And then people say, well, what's the goal? Well, there isn't a goal with practice. Practice is an intuitive awareness of improvement within yourself. It's an intuitive awareness of the conditions, how everything changes, and how do you respond to that? intuitively is how we change our lives. We learn to live in intuition. We sense, what was different this time when I made that bread? You're learning to sense it, sense it. And then as you sense it, then you can follow through with an experiment. Let me try it this way and see if it's a little bit better. You're not down on yourself. You're like, oh, I tried that. That doesn't work. I'm not a baker. I could never bake bread. That's really awful. You see, trying can lead to futility if you let it take over. We have to learn to commit ourselves to being better people. Committing ourselves. If you want a better bank account, you have to commit yourself to monitoring it, to watching it. If you want to have better health, you want to commit yourself to watching how you are when you eat this or when you don't eat that or when you walk or when you don't. Whether you take notes or not, it's about learning to feel and to watch yourself. How are you under certain conditions? Never give up the practice of spirituality. No, because you are a spiritual person. So you don't want to give up on your own humanity. So with politics, it doesn't matter if it's our country or any country around the world. So in the morning when I do my devotions, one of the things I like to do is, so I ask Ganesha, of course, to kindly remove the obstacles. And one of the things that I ask him to remove the obstacles for is for all those who are autocrats and dictators, starting from the family level up to neighborhood, to community, to the country, and then to the world. Kindly remove the obstacles for all the autocrats and dictators to their peace, peace, peace. And kindly let it move through all, from the smallest to the largest. So I do this because if people who hold positions of authority in a group, if they see themselves as very powerful, but not empowered necessarily at all, but if they see themselves as powerful, they can harm people and become dictators of the family or of the neighborhood or wherever it may be. And by the time a person is elected, well, they've already fell in love with the feeling of being powerful sometimes, you see? So we want people who have authority, we want them to feel peace, to start to get used to it. We don't pray that, do this for this person, do that for that person. We don't interfere. No need to interfere. We're just putting it out. Kindly remove the obstacles, basically, for all those who suffer from being self-absorbed in leadership, for their obstacles to be removed to their peace, peace, peace. That's all we're doing. We're not interfering. We're not saying, make them do this, make them pass that law, make them understand, make them see. No, we're not interfering. We're putting out these vibrations of peace, and they're pure. They don't have our selfish needs in them. They're pure. So we're teaching ourselves to practice peace intuitively, to learn to feel it, to feel where there is the presence of peace, where there isn't. So maybe you're taking a walk through your neighborhood. There's a place that sometimes I walk by that something goes on in that house that is just not peaceful. And you can feel it. So instead of tuning into it, I always make sure that with my feet, I say peace, peace, peace when I go through there. Why not? You see how simple this is, but you see how forgotten it is? Because we think we have to make a big splash, and we think we have to put people down and talk about how ugly and awful and hateful and mean everybody is. And that's just going to make me talk ugly, hateful, and mean. I don't want to talk like that. I do want to talk about love. because I know that love is a power, it's a force, it's not an emotion. Mm-mm. No. So we're working on love because that's what's going to save us, not just us as individuals, but us as a group called humanity. We all know we're in trouble. We all know that the balance in what we call nature is suffering. And if a member of your family was suffering like it's suffering out in the world, you'd want to do something about it. So the balance between the air and the water, it's really suffering. It's making all the animals suffer. The humans are suffering, fish are suffering, birds are suffering. We're all suffering. The trees are suffering. Everybody's suffering. So what would you do if it was your family? You would be kind to them. You would recommend things that you know. You would ask them, please take care of yourself. What can I do to help you to take care of this? But we forget we have a family called humanity, and that we live on a planet and we share it with many, many species. We share it. We're not here to be their overlords. We're not here to dictate what species get to live and what species don't, but yet we live like we are, like we do. No, we have to come home and be human beings again. Forget about being powerful, because power without intelligence is very dangerous. To be spiritually empowered is extraordinarily strong and can make a difference. And if each one of us practices better to be aware of what's causing this imbalance, what are we as individuals doing to participate in it? Let us notice it and self-correct, not self-judge, not judge others, not say, well, it's all their fault. We don't have to fault. Let us just practice being intuitively aware of, oh, I can see now how this affects that, and that affects this, and so on and so forth. Let us be intuitively aware of how each of us live so that we can help self-correct this imbalance in our home being the earth where we live. Everything right now is touched by anger and greed and jealousy, ego, all kinds of things like that. They make it so we don't care, or we decide it's really not happening, or it's not my fault. Why should I care? Bop, 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 bop. Because you live here, because we're family, whether we like it or not, we are. So I'm saying these things so you help yourself have a practice. And we stop trying. I'm trying. They're just not the one. They're the ones that aren't trying. We want to help ourselves to understand that to try is to make an attempt. This is a good thing, but not to overuse the word, because an attempt isn't enough. We want to develop a practice. We want to be better at being a human being. We want to be better at the ability to be loving and to put that out and to lessen our talk about how bad everybody else is, to lessen that. Because if we don't, we become part of it. Now it's out there too, all of our commentaries. It's not easy. You know, I know it's not easy. I mess up, you mess up, we mess up. But let's clean up. Help ourselves to clean up our mess, so to speak, internally as well as externally. This whole year, we're going to be really staying with the concept of intuition, learning to be quiet inside so that we can intuitively feel who we are and where we are. so that we can help ourselves in our relationships with our loved ones, or for the people that we're coming into contact with that we don't consider to be our loved ones. It's important that we learn to be more intuitive on how to move through the world, so we don't make such a mess as we go through it, so that we're cleaner in the way that we think and speak and live our lives. It's very, very important if we want to have a quality in our inner life, which everybody really does, but most of us don't know how to do it, and we think it's everybody else's fault why we're unhappy, everybody else's fault why I'm so angry. When we're ready to practice, we will, because by the time we're ready to practice, we're not feeling good, and we know everything else that we've been doing helps a little bit, but not enough. And when you realize that, then you surrender to a practice of spirituality. And really, the essence of spirituality and practicing it comes down to these things. My teacher used to say, be good, see good, do good. That's all you need to know. Be good, see good, do good. It's like talking to a child. But don't you think that's important to tell children that? And tell teenagers that, even though they roll their eyes at you and walk out of the room like you're like crazy? To people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and on up. Why not? Doesn't matter. We teach children things like this so that they'll be better adults. So we have to teach adults to be better adults too. Teach yourself. Be good, do good, see good. I mean, see good within yourself. See the good in you. If you focus too much on the bad, you won't be able to see the good, and then you'll feel helpless, and then you'll start blaming and shaming yourself, and that can lead to others. Don't just let yourself tell yourself how bad you are or how ridiculous you are. Don't let yourself get away with that. Step in. Step in. Say, stop. No, I got to breathe right now. It's not right to speak to me this way. Really. Intervene with your own self-talk. Tell yourself, no, stop. Shh. I actually do that to myself. Shh, 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 shh. So I can regain my balance. So the word that we're going to focus on for the month of March, I almost forgot where we were, is going to be introspection. This is really an exercise in intuition, introspection. That is a virtuous quality because the saboteur of introspection is internalizing. So when we're internalizing, we're like, oh yeah, I'm really bad about this. I'm so bad about that. And oh my God, I'm really horrible. And these people are really horrible and they do this to me. And there's all this internalizing and oh yeah, figuring it out and looking at all the bad and wondering why I can't get to the good. Well, because I don't have a direction to where that is. But introspection, well, that's different. That's like looking in at yourself and going, oh, this part of me isn't very strong. I need to work on this. I'm too self-conscious about this. Let me help myself to feel better about who I am. Introspection is learning to look at yourself without having to tell yourself how bad you are. Looking at yourself intuitively and looking at it with love. Going, oh yeah, I do get triggered when people say that. Oh yeah, it's true, I do. That way you're not going, yeah, whenever they say it, they make me feel this way. Well, it doesn't have to be that you're that vulnerable to them or to those words or to that vibration. So when you're introspective, you're looking at yourself and realizing that you get triggered by certain things. So you're helping yourself before that source arrives with that trigger to help yourself. And then you'll feel it. You'll be like, wow, last time somebody said that to me, I just flew off the handle. This time, I wanted to fly off the handle. I was tempted to fly off the handle, but I just said a few little snarky things, and that wasn't as bad as it was before. And I look forward to feeling better. So I'm saying it to you this way so you get used to speaking to yourself in a more with more affirmations than with that devastating criticism that sometimes people do. Okay, so introspection and the saboteur is internalizing. And I also wanted to tell you that we are having our spring equinox. When is it?
3/16. And
Three-
put the link to register in the chat.
Oh, and Ruby put the link to register in the chat. So the the spring equinox is on the 13th, Saturday the 13th. And it's a time when we just come together and we
The
practice.
16th.
Oh, I'm sorry. The 16th. Sorry about that. I'm misleading you here. March 16th. And there when we come together, we it's serious, but it's also lighthearted too, where we do exercises to help ourselves to this year we're going to help ourselves to learn to use our intuition to really help ourselves to discover things that we really want to work on this year, how to really set intentions in a way where we're more committed to them. You know, it's not enough just to set an intention. It means you have to follow through with commitment. What's an intention without commitment? I don't know, but it's not a commitment. So we're going to really learn some ways in order to help ourselves with that and to focus on intuition and awareness. And we also have a break in the middle of the afternoon where we have a very nice vegan snacks and very, very light lunch. So it's a very nice place, and it's set in a very beautiful garden. Jim and Leanne, who were so gracious to host us. I am so grateful. It makes me tearful. So grateful that we get to actually have a place provided for us to gather and share love. It's really beautiful. So anyway, I invite you to come and participate with us. Now, the only other thing I want to say before we do our ohms is also we are doing now after First Sunday what we just did. We're going to do meditation afterwards. It's a meditation. I don't know, what do we call it? A class? No, class. And we're each month learning a little bit of a different technique or a little bit more about meditation so that you can find what works for you. Okay, there isn't one way that's going to be for everybody because we're all at different starting lines. And why not have some, mixed chocolates? Try new things, broaden our horizons and experiment with new ways of becoming very, very calm. So very good. So please join me and let's do 3 ohms. Oh. 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 Thank you so much for being here today. Peace be with you. Namaste. And if you want, you can just stay with us, right? Just stay with us. It'll be just a couple of minutes, all right? And we'll be right back for meditation.